So a Calendex comes from the idea of a calendar and an index combined into one. While an index shows the list of layouts you have in your notebook and the page numbers you can find them on, and a calendar shows the days of the month or year and the events that are happening on them, the Calendex brings the two together. So you can see we have a kind of calendar layout. We've got the different months along the top, and we've got the days of the months down the side. But rather than writing the event titles onto this space, instead we're going to put page numbers. Those page numbers tell us where we can find information related to those events. Having a look at the structure of the Calendex though, you can see we have a column for each of the different months that you want to capture. In my setup, I've gone with 5 doc grid boxes across for each of these, so I have the opportunity to record up to 5 events for each day. Down the sides of our Calendex, we have the numbers 1 through 31, and you can see that each of our columns ends at different points depending on how many days there are actually in that month. So for instance, September here finishes at the 30 mark because there are only 30 days in September, whereas July and August both finish at 31 because there are 31 days in those months. The little dividing lines we have here in the light grey are more of a visual cue to say where the weeks start, or where one week transitions into the next. So for instance, on this calendar, April 1st is on a Monday, and we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a dividing line to say we're moving into the next week. Depending on whether you like to have a Monday start or Sunday start, your lines will be in slightly different places, and obviously this does depend on which calendar year you're looking at. Populating the Calendex though doesn't rely on writing down the events in here, but more so writing down what page number I can look at to find information about those events. So for instance, let's just say on October 3rd, Mean Girls Day, maybe I have some event going on. Possibly it is a Mean Girls Day celebration. And let's just say that on page 42 of my notebook, I've put down event notes. Rather than writing Mean Girls Day here, I'd instead just put a little box that's the size of the doc grid of the notebook, and then write down 42 to tell me that on page 42, I have event notes for that event. This is great because it not only gives me the opportunity to record more information about that event compared to a regular future log, but it also means that as I populate this layout, I can see at a glance where my busy days were. If you combine this with color coding, like I'm planning to do, I've got my color code here on my key, I'll then be able to see at a glance how I'm spending my time. So am I spending a lot of my time doing work? Or do I have a good balance of social events? Have I scheduled time for my mental and physical health? Of course, there comes the issue of when you're moving into a new journal, you often have events that you want to transfer over. To tackle this, I always like to pair a Calendex with a panel down the side where I can put in any events that I already have scheduled. As an example, one of the events that I know is coming up is my birthday, so I can put in a little box and then write down on the 11th of October, there is my birthday. And as this is page 3 of my journal, I can then go down to October 11th, put in a little box and write down the number 3 to say that on page 3, we have event details about the 11th of October. Looking at an example that's a little bit more populated, you can see that the two colors I was working with here are social things and work or school things. I was a teacher at the time of setting this up, but again we've got a column for each of the months. We have a space on the side for any events that I was transferring in at the start of this notebook, and then all of these little boxes here with their various numbers represent different pages in my notebook and where I can find details about those events. So for instance, this little box here, 85, says that on the 18th of August, we have an event on page 85 that's being described. You'll see that I also have a couple of other symbols on this one. I've put in little dollar signs to represent paydays and little pink dots to represent bin collection days. We've also got little purple dots to represent school holidays and little blue dots to represent school-only days or school meetings. This means that I don't have to fill up my Calendex with a whole bunch of numbers for events that are kind of more common occurrences. Anything that's a repeated happening, I can just give a little icon or a little symbol, put that on my Calendex instead. Here's an example that uses a bit of an expanded color palette, but you can see just by stacking those boxes to represent the different events, I can at a glance see which of these days were kind of busier, which ones had less things going on, and possibly which days did I just kind of fall off with filling in my Calendex. This is of course only one style of future log, and if you were looking for more ideas for how you could structure those, it'd be worth having a look at the video we have at the top here. Click or tap on that one and I'll see you over there.